Hey, Chris Liepe here with special guest Lauren Babic. Thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be back.
I've done tons of videos on Linkin Park over this last year, and her live vocals keep getting better and better, and particularly in some of the recent ones, as I know you've gotten a chance to perform live quite a bit more recently. I've been thinking of you, and I really wanted to get your perspective on Emily's live vocals, so I'm excited. Neither of us have seen this, Cut the Bridge live, released just a couple days ago at the time of filming this.
Let's dive into it.
I love hearing these songs live. I like the album too, for sure. But I think this is the first Cut the Bridge live that I've seen. And a lot of these live ones that they're putting on their channel, they're so raw.
This breath of fresh air in this time of very, very hi-fi, hyper-processed, a million layers, big soundscapes. And to bring it back to like the nostalgic 2000s where like what you hear on the record can be played with just a 5-piece band.
Yeah.
Like it's translating so well live.
I notice him as more slidey in this section live. You know, there's this range of pitch that's happening during his rap. Telling me a lie.
Yeah, he's extra sassy when he's performing live. I find on the record he taps more into his like sultry, like a little bit of a lower tone. But when Mike performs live, he has that little bit of extra adrenaline. So I find he taps more into his compression, and it has a little bit more of a hype dynamic.
Every time you start, it's like the 4th day of July. Reckless like you make it rockets just to blow up in the sky. Feeling like it's chemical, all under my skin like it's medical. Stuck on repetitions that are only hypothetical. Acting like truth and no opinion are identical, and I can't seem to let it go. Everything was perfect, always made me nervous.
Something you do very well in a lot of your songs, right? You have these like low moments where you're almost like whispering in someone's ear, but not really.
I think that's just what makes something very dynamic, and you don't want to give it all away all at once.
Yeah.
Because then if you're always up here, there's nowhere for you to go, and there's no story to tell as the song progresses. So you could tell that she's getting ready to explode into this chorus. So she's using a little bit, breathiness and some so it's very, she's holding back, but only to ramp up into something more later.
And do you think, when you're doing that right there, that's an intentional like dip into Fry. I would have to believe that this isn't stuff that's just happening naturally for her. Like, certainly things happen and come out without you thinking about it, but there's some intentionality here, using different techniques, even when she's low. A little bit of Fry, definitely head voice here. So she's a very intentional vocalist.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's just what vocalists, like good vocalists, do to tell a story and to translate their emotions into their singing. And I think she does it very well. It just adds so much character and inflection, because it would be so easy to go just to the bit out there, but there's so much flavor to add.
Always made me nervous, knowing you would find it just to watch it burn.
Okay, before she catapults in there, it's super awesome to have you here as a female vocalist, female harsh vocalist doing some of this stuff, because there's always this translation problem that happens when I'm breaking down her voice. It's like, well, let's put that in the male voice. yeah, the techniques are similar, but to hear the sounds center in that pitch basis with a similar voice type.
So she's on the just and the watch. She's tapping into her beautiful, beautiful raspiness that we love, just to give a little bit of flavor. And it's so intentional because when she hits her belt, you know it's coming.
Like that kind of thing. And
yeah.
And then watch.
Just to watch it burn. So it's different techniques. So the just is more of a subdued fry, but the watch, she's pushing into her volatility, compressing on top of that, and setting us up for this beautiful chorus that is about to unfold. Just to watch it burn. So on burn, she's giving more of her belt, setting us up. Just to watch it burn.
Okay, gotta listen to that chorus again, because there's some lighter moments there when she's high. There's some budgeting things happening.
She is, and because it is quite high in range, like that is actually quite high for me as well, and I would have to do some strategic placement there so that I can set up for that big note at the end, because you can tell she's very clean, very little rasp happening, and then at the end of the chorus she's really giving a lot of grit.
She does belt, but then once she gets up to that high note, you're right.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was actually in her mixed voice, because I think for me, approaching that strategically, I wouldn't want to give my full super belt there, because I have to make sure that I have staying power throughout the whole chorus.
There's that little release at the end. And that note
that's definitely a belt.
Yeah.
That is her full thing, because that's probably a comfort area for her, and she can release that after she's budgeted her breath and her stamina, and she kind of releases it on that last note.
Yeah, something that you hear her doing live, and I love that we hear her doing it live. Okay, so there on the cut the bridge coming out, obviously she's going into her sing screamy, pushing into her vocal break, that kind of thing. But I'd love to hear you build like how you would do that with your approach.
I would definitely want to ramp up into what my voice does really well, which is a really powerful upper vocal compression scream.
Okay.
And I think I would probably just scream cut the bridge we're on, but then ramp up with some like mixed voice and belt in there, and then ramp up into my scream. I would do sabotage it all just to watch it fall. Cut the bridge we're on. So I would just give it all on that line.
You know, it's interesting too, the way that these songs are written. They're written to give each vocalist a break, especially Emily. Yes. Like she has just given, she's just spent quite a bit of her vocal budget there on Cut the Bridge We're On.
She could chill.
Relubricate her throat and let herself recover so that she can get her budget back. And then, of course, the way the song's written, she starts here and then goes more intense. I loved that. Oh, well, for me, an octave always made me nervous, right? There's a chestiness there, and then she's going up in her head voice, not because she has to, but there's this like almost, it's like sneaky. Almost made me nervous. So like sinister sounding.
Love it.
Oh, knowing you would burn it.
Knowing you would burn it. Like she's ebbing and flowing between her like chest voice and then coming back down. Yeah. Falling into like burn it, which is so, I love that.
You really can hear her working with her break in a certain way. Like, even though she's mixing up there, the cut the bridge, like when she's up on those notes, this note, that note I just did, that is a very chesty note for her. But when she's going, listen to this again. So till it is mixy, and then that note, I can't do it in a chesty note.
It's definitely a comfort note for her.
Yeah.
And I think good until it's gone.
Yes.
So just really giving it that full, like, fully supported note on that gone.
Yeah.
For her, that seems like a very nice comfort area.
She can lean into that upper belt. And it sounded great when you did it. You had this lightness, and then you leaned into that note to the point where your voice broke up a little bit, which is exactly what we hear her doing.
Yeah, and you kind of have to relax everything when you want to do that, keeping things very loose, which is, it's kind of confusing because it's like, okay, if I want to grit and compress, but you still have to stay very, very relaxed to allow those things to move.
Yeah, you almost relax into the aggression instead of try to control it more and more. Yes. And interestingly enough, you kind of see that happen when she sings. Just like we saw you do that. You didn't get like ultra intense. Mm-hmm. Your intensity level didn't really change. And watch her face here. I mean, she's opening her mouth a little bit more, but there's this sense that she's laying back into that belted note.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this is something that
nasty.
This is something that you do a lot too. You tend to build up breath pressure around a nice, confident, belted note, and then you release or sigh, almost whimper out of it. And I hear her doing that here. On watch, right? We have the watch, just to watch it fall.
I do that when there's so much pressure being built up, and it's sort of like a little bit of a way to release that pressure.
Yeah.
I do that a lot. You can hear it a lot in like Michael Jackson songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's this little bit of like a at the end, and it's a way to just release the pressure, at least for me. Sabotage it all. Oh, just to watch it fall. That's kind of where I want to air dump, but maybe for her, on the watch, like she needs to like do that to come back down.
You are really able and confident enough in your own voice to lean into what your voice wants to do while taking inspiration from what she's doing.
It's a really important thing when you want to especially cover songs, drawing that energy from the original vocalist, but at the same time tapping into what your voice is good at and what it wants to do as well.
Yeah.
And highlighting the really beautiful parts of your own voice. I think that's an important sort of tidbit.
Yeah.
Improve your own vocal.
Something in my head feels broken. I'm a gas from the burn I left open. I'm a tightrope held up by a clothespin, holding out, but the pressure keeps growing. Wanna go to the light and not the shadow. The branches shining as the arrow. We don't ever find.
And this is just one of those things. Linkin Park's arranging and writing. These songs are just designed to be gotten involved with live. You can see this in the audience, and you're like, oh, you know, the audience they're just clapping along, you know, whatever. But you don't see that level of engagement in every band. You know, Mike kind of comes up and represents the rest of us.
Yeah, and it just encourages the crowd to participate.
Yeah.
And this song especially reminds me of Bleed It Out and what that song did.
Absolutely.
It has that clapping, like, I'll bleed it out, dig it deeper just to throw it away. And like everyone, it just encourages everyone to sing along.
Way around the battle, you will always choose just to watch it
Oh, and just to hear the audience join in with her there, that's awesome. There it is again, where she's getting into that it's lower. That's like the lowest part of the high chorus, really leaning into that belt. I also like the way that they are using the background vocals here, because she's like almost call and answering there at the end, which again, they're doing these 2-hour shows. She doesn't want to go too hard on her voice for too long. Definitely give us some moments of really leaning in, but then lean on the background vocals, lean on the audience some. And she's gotten a lot better with that in the live performances.
And I saw the very first live stream they did when they introduced Emily. You could tell just with confidence and time, she has improved, I would say, even more than tenfold.
Yeah.
Like just with that confidence and mentality of like, okay, these are my shoes now, that's helped her tremendously.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for listening to this with me and offering your insights and putting some of these moments in your own voice. That's super useful for me, and I know others who want to sing along to these songs. Like, everybody's voice works a little bit differently. And if you'd like to work directly with Lauren and figure out how she's able to pull from her inspirations and create all sorts of killer sounds with her own voice, click the link below in the pinned comment or video description and join the free course.
And if you want to check out the other videos Chris and I have done together, check out this playlist.